Somehow, we are still alive and kicking here in Season 3 of our realistic Crystal Palace career mode. But for the second consecutive episode, our season hangs in the balance. We rose from the dead 3 separate times in our FA Cup clash against Wolves, equalising in regulation time and then again in extra time before progressing on penalties to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And with a 20-point gap between ourselves and Newcastle United in 5th position, winning the FA Cup will be our only route into Europe. And if you weren't already aware, qualifying for Europe is a requisite achievement if we are to keep our job next season. So our FA Cup quarter-final clash against Norwich City will be our featured game of today's episode as we look to keep our season alive yet again. I'll show you highlights of our opening Premier League game against Fulham, and we will be quick simming games against Ipswich Town and Nottingham Forest. So our chances of winning the FA Cup this season are remote, but we did receive a big boost in that endeavour in the last episode, signing Yusuf Ndayishimiye from Udinese for a fee of 23.5 million. So Ndayishimiye does start in that centre-half CDM role as we take on Fulham in the 4-3-3 formation, which seems to be the best system going forward. Jude Bellingham and Lucas Stassin do also get a start in this one, alongside Milan van Ewijk, who starts ahead of the injured Daniel Munoz. We've been trying to determine which formation and tactical system suits us best over the last couple of episodes, but I do think we should settle on the 4-3-3. It served us well here, and we almost opened the scoring from the kickoff through Adam Wharton. Then just a handful of moments later, it's Joe Bellingham's chance to test the keeper from range before space opened up in the box for Luca Koleosho, but it was another excellent save from the Fulham keeper. And about 20 minutes in, it looked for all the world as if we were going to open the scoring. A beautiful move with Bellingham finding Koleosho, Stassin getting involved as well, saw Constantelius wide open in the penalty area, but he put his shot wide. But we continued to pressure Fulham, and we didn't take the lead 25 minutes in, but the Fulham defender did see red after this challenge on Lucas Stassin right on the edge of the box. And then up stepped Leif Davis, who absolutely buried the free kick. My first free kick scored of FC25, and we would have the lead after all. And then about 10 minutes later, we would double our lead. We absolutely played Fulham off the park, and this was another really nice passing move. The goalkeeper may be a little disappointed to let it in at his near post though. And whilst Fulham never really looked like scoring, we'd go on to score a third and then a fourth goal as Lucas Stassin grabbed his second of the game, and Giannis Constantelius finally got his goal. We were so dominant in that game, I felt compelled to just double check we are still on legendary difficulty. And we are. Fulham just felt like one of the worst teams we've played. Today's video is sponsored by Enigma Football, the UK's leading supplier of football shirt mystery boxes just like this one. Enigma stock a wide range of football shirts from clubs from the Big 5 European leagues, from lesser known teams around the world, and even from national teams as well. And you can be 100% certain that their shirts are authentic because they get them straight from the clubs and the manufacturers directly. Their mystery boxes start at just $34.99, and they can be as random or as customized as you like. Of course, you need to specify your shirt size, but you can also let Enigma know if there are any teams or leagues you would like to avoid, if there are any colors or designs that you would prefer, or you can just leave it entirely up to Enigma to choose for you. Enigma had a very good idea of what team I would like to receive, so they sent me this season's Crystal Palace shirt. This exact shirt on the Crystal Palace website would have cost me £60, but if you receive it in a mystery box, you get it almost half that price. And you can knock that price down even further by using code LAMSY at the checkout for a 10% discount on all first orders, including the first month of a mystery box subscription package. So if you're on the lookout for a Christmas gift for the diehard football fan in your life, or if you just want a fun and affordable way to expand your own shirt collection, check out Enigma Football. The link is in the description, and be sure to use code LAMSY at the checkout for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Enigma Football for sponsoring. Now let's get back to the video. We did unfortunately lose Matheus Françard to injury in that last game. He's been looking promising, but if he is going to get injured, I guess now is a good time because Daichi Kamada's just been cleared to return to training. He won't be ready to join first team action just yet, but hopefully we'll have him back for the FA Cup semi-final if we manage to get there. So it'll be William Davidson who takes that third spot in midfield as we take on Ipswich Town in our second game of the episode, where we come away with yet another victory. Constantelius scoring the winner after Abraham opened the scoring and Valerie equalised for Ipswich Town. And whilst we do still remain in 11th position in the Premier League, those results do take us to within touching distance of Brighton, so a top half finish may be possible after all. And I just hope these improved performances in the Premier League are not just setting us up with false hope once again. It's been kind of the theme of the series so far, to be honest. As soon as we look like we're ready to take that next step, we fall apart again. But we'll look to avoid doing that in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. So without further ado, let's head over to Carrow Road and see if we can take care of business. So those of you that have been following the channel for some time will know that I do live in Norwich. So we are taking on my local team today. And you will also know that I'm a big fan of Josh Sargent. He's one of my favourite players. However, there will be no love lost today. We are looking to take care of business here at Carrow Road. Dispatch Norwich with as much conviction and... as Luca Kolyasho is just offside. That must have been close. We'll see here as Tammy Abraham plays him in behind. Just. Almost level. But we will look to play with as much conviction and professionalism as we did against Fulham. Again, that was one of the most dominant performances we've had in the series so far. It's a shame it wasn't a featured game, because it would have been nice to show you a game where everything goes right for a change, because those have been few and far between recently, certainly since the beginning of season 3 at the very least. Kolyasho on the right hand side, found well by Adam Wharton. I think at half time in the Fulham game we had 15 shots to Fulham's 0. It was absolutely dominant. They did manage to get a handful of shots away in the second half. None really testing Dean Henderson too much, but he was forced into a handful of saves. Daichi Kamada back in the lineup today a little bit sooner than anticipated. I wasn't sure we'd have him back for today's episode, but here he is in centre midfield, and I think that'll be another big boost to the midfield. And Dayashimi has looked excellent, looked very good against Fulham, as he did in the featured game of the last episode as well. And already Norwich are proving more of a, not more of a threat just yet exactly, but more difficult opposition than Fulham did. And that's a big save by Angus Gunn. Angus Gunn, another player I am very fond of. I think he's a really good championship goalkeeper at the very least. As Josh Sargent is away, Trevor Chalobah with the pace to get back and force the shot wide, however. But yeah, Norwich already looking to be more of a match for us than Fulham ever did earlier in the episode. Borja Sainz, of course, starting on the left-hand side for Norwich today. If you pay any attention at all to Championship football, then you'll have seen what kind of form he's in this season. Absolutely unreal form. I'm not sure I've ever really seen anything like it. Even somebody like Emi Buendia, who is undoubtedly just one of the best and most talented players to ever pull on a Norwich shirt. Even Buendia didn't have a season like this. The number of goals and assists that Borja Sainz has. With Buendia, it was kind of more of the Buendia and Pukki connection. Buendia, an unreal player in his own right, for the Championship at the very least. Obviously hasn't really worked out for him in the Premier League just yet for Aston Villa, but injuries have certainly played their part in that. Don't really feel like he's had the opportunity to prove himself, because no sooner was he at Aston Villa than he was injured, and then they brought in the likes of Leon Bailey and Moussa Diaby, and now Morgan Rogers is performing so well. He hasn't really had his opportunity at Aston Villa just yet, Emi Buendia, even though he's been there a good few seasons now. But an unreal player in his own right. But really it was the Buendia to Pukki connection that was so unreal in the Championship, rather than Buendia ever just putting the team on his back. And Johnny Rowe gets the shot away. Rather than Buendia putting the team on his back like Borja Sainz has this season. Good save again, Dean Henderson. Norwich starting the game very brightly. Johnny Rowe on the right-hand side for Norwich today. You can tell that we're still working with the squads from the very beginning of the year, when we first set up this save, obviously. And we saw a Johnny Rowe tifo in the intro to the game. Not 100% sure whether I will have kept that in or not. I do edit the player lineups and walkouts ever so slightly, just to cut them down a bit. I like to have them in the episodes, but we don't need them in their entirety, really. And I do tend to cut out the tifo scenes, just because you never really see the tifos in English football. And in the last episode, we actually saw a Jose Sarr tifo, but he was in the regular kind of outfield player Wolves kit, and he was on the bench, which was particularly interesting. Adam Wharton finds Tammy Abraham, Daichi Kamada, Milan Van Eyck, and Koleosho on the right-hand side. Not only are Norwich looking better going forward than Fulham ever did, but they're proving much more difficult to break down. As soon as we get the ball into the final third of Norwich, like Wolves in the previous game, they are defending very tight, very compact, fairly deep as well. Kind of just sitting in that low block, sitting in their lines, forcing us to play through those lines in order to break them down. Leif Davis does find a bit of space on the left-hand side, but Tammy Abraham, as is the case far too often, is just on the edge of the box. Daichi Kamada does work it to Milan Van Eyck, who manages to get the shot away, but it is easily blocked by a Norwich defender, Adam Wharton. Johnny Rowe, I believe, back doing his defensive duties, and will come away with the ball for Norwich now and find Josh Sargent. Borja Sainz plays it wide to Prezene. Sainz once again, but dispossessed by Trevor Chalobah, and he has found Adam Wharton in space. Constantelius. Leif Davis outside him. Leif Davis, of course, playing against his former rivals, former Ipswich player, playing against the neighbours from just up north, just north of the border. Nunez still at Norwich. Liam Gibbs still at Norwich as well. It's slightly out of favour in real life. That's a good defending by Daichi Kamada. Milan Van Eyck will just go back to Dean Henderson. And that's a bit of a risky pass into the feet of Adam Wharton. And Johnny Rowe is on hand to dispossess Leif Davis. Marcelino Nunez. Liam Gibbs once more. Norwich really proving a much tougher test than I had anticipated. I thought based on the level of opposition that Norwich provide and the Fulham game earlier in the episode, I thought that we would pretty much walk to victory here. It's not been the case whatsoever. And this is kind of what I was concerned about. This is something that I don't want to say I could see happening, because I've just said I thought Norwich were going to be a walkover. But this is what I was worried about heading into the game. That we dispatch Fulham, we beat Ipswich in the quick sim, we come into the game full of momentum, confident that we can make it to the semi-finals, and then we lose to championship opposition. It would just be the most Crystal Palace thing we could do, and it would certainly be on brand for the series so far. Of course, we're going to try and prevent that from happening, as Constantelius puts it straight out of play. But I certainly didn't think we'd have to work so hard to make that happen. The 4-3-3 is looking very, very good, though. In general. I think it's certainly the best of the four at the back formations that we have tried. Particularly with... Come on, Chalobah. That was the obvious pass. I thought he'd position himself there to make him available for that pass, and he walks away whilst Johnny Rowe stalks towards the ball. We'll just try and drop that in behind for Luca Koleosho. Dealt with well by Norwich. But this system has certainly looked good with the addition of Ndiaye Shimi, who has been an excellent addition in general to the team. Milan van Eyck trying to squirm through. We'll pick up a free kick. Oh, and I should have just waited. I thought Tammy Abraham was drifting over that way, and we could put it into his feet. Maybe get Koleosho to work off him. It's going to be another free kick. This time to Norwich. Not sure why, because Crescene had the advantage there. Perhaps the referee disagreed that it was an advantage. Possession doesn't necessarily equal advantage. Although, often they are kind of considered synonymously. It's another poor pass. I think we need to adjust our approach slightly in the second period, because I think we're allowing Norwich a little too much possession. We are getting a little ahead of ourselves, I think, as the referee blows his half-time whistle. I don't think we need to change shape or personnel or anything like that. I think we just slightly need to change our approach in the second period. Make sure we take care of the ball a little bit more and be a little bit more patient in our approach. We're trying to get the ball forwards a little too quickly, and I think that's been born of frustration that Norwich have given us in this first period, defending very, very well and making it difficult for us to break them down. I think we just need to reset, regain that composure and that patience, try again in the second period. So only 5 shots total in that first period. A very tense and cagey affair thus far. And as we said, we're going to try and reset, try and play a little more patiently in this second period. Work the ball around. Try and pick holes in the Norwich City defence. As Daichi Kamada is just a little slow there, a little rusty coming back from injury perhaps, but he does win the ball back. And then almost gives it away to Norwich City once more. Van Eyck finds Kamada. See, the pass to Leif Davis looked like it could have been on there, and in the first half we probably would have played it. But this is the approach we're looking for in the second period. A little more conservative, a little more patient, and it does pay off there. Finding Leif Davis with a higher percentage pass and allowing him to get the cross into the box. Kamada wins the header. Adam Wharton finds Kamada once more. Couple of step overs. Can't turn back onto his left foot though. Crescene for Norwich. Finds Borja Sainz, and Milan van Eyck has to work to get back into the play here, which he does. And then Ndiaye Shimi forces it wide once more. He's just been a perfect fit. I can't emphasize that enough. He's such a perfect fit for that CDM centre-half role. Oh, Kamada. Poor defending. He's not a defensive player, to be fair. We do have him in that centre midfield role, very much as a playmaker looking to get forward. And getting forward is exactly what Constantelius has managed to do. Can't quite find Tammy Abraham. Cordoba comes across to cut it out. And Diashimi does well just to hold on to it, and I did not see the Norwich player there at all. He had kind of camouflaged himself, not just into the grass, but kind of half behind the referee as well. Just kind of seemed to appear from behind the referee, seemed to climb out of his back pocket to get in position to make that interception. Really nice pass into the path of Koleosho though, and that has to be a foul. He hasn't got the ball there. He's just come across and body checked Koleosho basically, as Koleosho looked to get him behind. How that's not a free kick, I'm not sure. I think we should feel hard done by there. And Diashimi. Koleosho again. Just go back to Milan Van Eyck, but we do get a fortunate bounce that allows Koleosho to get in behind. Has the pace to get away from Krasene just about. Pulls it back towards Tammy Abraham. Ball's still not out of play. And I think it's going to be a Norwich free kick. I think potentially Luka Koleosho handled it there as he slipped to the ground. No changes just yet for Norwich either. We did see the Wolves match go not only to extra time but also to penalties. So we may be a little more conservative with our substitutions in this game than we were in that one. Just to ensure that we have substitutions left over in case of the eventuality of extra time. Kamada does well to beat his man, but just has to go back to Lacroix. Nothing really on ahead of him, but Ndaishimi will carry the ball forward. And look at Norwich. They've got 10 men behind the ball, one just inside our half. And they are just making it so difficult for us to break them down. You really have to admire it. I mean, it's the perfect game plan. Just forcing us... I mean... Perhaps we're playing into their hand. Trying to take a bit more of a patient approach. We did see against Wolves, when we went direct, that seemed to be the more productive way of playing. And maybe that is the case here against Norwich. Because the more we try and work the ball around, the more Norwich can just sit in their low block. And the higher the likelihood of us eventually making a mistake with one of those passes and gifting possession back to Norwich, which is pretty much what's happened for the duration of the game so far. Johnny Rowe has such a good challenge. Such a good challenge, I think, from Leif Davis and then from Daichi Kamada. And we can break with an opportunity to play a little bit more direct. Koleosho on the right-hand side is onside. Tammy Abraham in the box. It's a poor cross in the end from Koleosho. Daishimi wins his header though. Kamada once more. Leif Davis in behind with a great run. And Tammy Abraham at the back post, and we can't find him. Great ball from Kamada. Great run from Leif Davis, to be fair. And it was pinpoint the first pass. Tammy Abraham all alone at the back post. I tried to do a driven cross across the face of the 6-yard box. I didn't fancy lobbing it up towards the back post. I thought Angus Gunn would be quick off his line and he'd be able to get out to it and claim. Perhaps just a driven pass should have been the option there. Tammy Abraham, I need that running behind. One thing that we did do slightly differently in the Fulham game with Lucas Stassin up front was we played him on poacher support, whereas Tammy Abraham is on target forward attack. And I do feel like that's made a difference here today. But poacher support, I'm not sure is such a suitable role for Tammy Abraham. Kamada finds Tammy Abraham here though, and I can see the linesman's flag already, and it has been raised. Tammy Abraham has been fairly anonymous today, and I think, based on the way the game's gone, it might be worth taking him off here. So it is a bold call, given the impact that Tammy Abraham has had for us, but he's not having that impact today. So Oliver Glasner has decided Tammy Abraham will make way. Lucas Stassin will come on, and we will assign him that poacher support role. Ismail Assar also coming on in place of Konstantelius. Assar will play on the right. Koleosho will switch over to that left-hand side and will play the inside forward role for the remainder of the game. Ismail Assar already in behind. Lofts it up towards Koleosho at the back post, whose header is wide. But already the substitutes having an impact in this game. 15 minutes of the regulation 90 left. A winner within those 15 minutes would be very much appreciated. Don't fancy the emotional roller coaster of extra time. I certainly don't fancy the emotional roller coaster of penalties again. Leif Davis. Adam Wharton. Oh, Daichi Kamada just on his heels. I was just waiting for him to step forward. At some point we had to play that pass. But Daichi Kamada just, again, rusty coming back from injury potentially. Van Avijk. Saar down the line. Kamada once more. That's better. And we're going to have to try and find Lucas Stassin here, but we're not going to. Ismail Assar with a venomous shot, which Angus Gunn just about manages to parry away. And Leif Davis applying pressure in the Norwich box, but calmly and coolly dealt with by the Norwich goalkeeper and back line. It's a good challenge from Maxence Lacroix, but the lino doesn't like it. So it will be a Norwich free kick. Nunez to take, and he delivers, and Diashimi wins the header. Koleosho doesn't, but Ismail Assar is in space on the right-hand side, and he brings it down, and he drives. And he has the pace to get past Krezene. And he has the feet to cut inside. And he gets the shot away, and it's wide. Very much not left-footed, Ismail Assar, to be fair to him. Perhaps he would be better on that right-hand side, on the inside forward role. But, I mean, Luka Koleosho is a pretty similar type of player to Ismail Assar, to be honest. Konstantelius is the player best suited for that inside forward role, but just wasn't having an impact. Like Tammy Abraham, had to come off. But the last 10, 15 minutes or so, the period since the substitution certainly has been promising. We are running out of time in the regulation 90. But we are finally imposing ourselves on Norwich a little more now. Starting to open them up. Perhaps some tired legs in the Norwich ranks are helping a little with that as well. And Adam Wharton nicks in, steals the ball away. And Lucas Stassin finds Ismail Assar. And the substitutes combine, but Angus Gunn makes the save. I wish it was the other way around. I wish it was Ismail Assar playing Lucas Stassin in behind, because with his 82 finishing, I don't think the scores would be level as they are now still. Daichi Kamada dealt with well by Norwich. But Ismail Assar once more, he's looked incredibly bright since coming on, and he gets his shot away with his left foot. This time it's on target, and it's a big save again from Angus Gunn. And Koleosho pins Norwich back in their defensive third, but really looked like we might have done enough to win the game there. Head is cleared by Norwich into the path of Johnny Rowe. Leif Davis steals it away on this occasion. Koleosho. Leif Davis outside him. Koleosho twisting, turning. 3 Norwich defenders in his vicinity. Oh, and that was a really nice bit of movement from Lucas Stassin. We just couldn't play the reverse pass around the corner quite enough, but a really intelligent piece of movement just to kind of feint the run and then kind of pull away from the defender. Kind of in his blind spot almost. And it would have opened up for Lucas Stassin there if we could have found him with Daichi Kamada. But it does look as though we're going to go to extra time for the second fixture in the FA Cup and the second episode in a row. Neither team able to get it over the line in the regulation 90. But we certainly look the team more like doing so in that second half. So I think that has to fill us with confidence going into extra time. Hopefully we can avoid penalties. So just one more change as we come out for the first period of extra time. Daichi Kamada has left the field. Andres Pereira on to replace him. Kamada's lack of match sharpness just hurting him a little bit in this game. He is back fully match fit, but having been out with that injury for the last couple of months, it's going to take him a few games to get back up to full match sharpness, and I think we saw that here today. A couple of passes just misplaced, and a key pass misplaced towards the end of that second half, because we could have opened up the game there with Lucas Stassin, but we just couldn't find him. Ismail Assar continues to open up the game though, and Luca Koleosho has found him. And Lucas Stassin is at the back post, but we can't find him. Cleared by Jose Cordova. Perhaps we should have just taken the shot on with Ismail Assar. It's a narrow angle though. Don't fancy our chances of scoring from that. Perhaps Angus Gunn would have parried it out into a dangerous area. I feel like trying to find Lucas Stassin at the back post was the right option. Quick burst of pace from Johnny Rowe. Neither Adam Wharton nor Leif Davis can keep up. Thankfully, Adam Wharton does head clear, though. Milan Van Eyck. Ismail Assar yet again in behind. And yet again, he will get there. He can't cut it back onto his left foot, though. We had Pereira and Stassin both busting a gut to get up and support him. But it was a good recovery challenge from the Norwich defender, unfortunately. Another burst of pace, this time from Forsen, to get away from Trevor Chalobah. Van Eyck in a good position as well, though. Forces him into the path of Trevor Chalobah, who dispossesses Forsen. Wharton into Pereira. Space to run into. But we will just find Wharton and Van Eyck. Ismail Assar once again. Oh, and it's just in front of Andreas Pereira. We do look brighter than Norwich again, though. Carrying forward that momentum from the second half into this first period of extra time. Are we going to have to try and turn it on at some point, though? Do we step up into the attacking game plan and really try and win this game in extra time? Of course, doing that would risk a Norwich counter-attack, and it would risk losing the game in extra time. So perhaps we just sit, keep plugging away, rely on the fact that we have been the better side for, what, about an hour now, and have faith that that's going to see us through. Koleosho. Jose Cordova stands off him, so we'll just burst into the gap with Luca Koleosho. Lucas Stassin gets the shot away and it's blocked. Really good recovery challenge from the Norwich centre-back. That's the thing about Lucas Stassin. He has incredible finishing. He doesn't quite have that burst of pace to get away from defenders to make use of that excellent finishing. If he had 5 extra sprint speed acceleration, as Ndai Hashimi gets a header away at the near post. If he had just a little more pace about him, Lucas Stassin, he would be absolutely unreal. Trevor Chalobah, it's a poor header. It was a diving header, to be fair. It was stretching to turn it towards goal. Harmlessly wide in the end. So we have 15 minutes left to overcome Norwich, who have proven, as we've said, a much tougher test than Fulham and a much tougher test than we were anticipating so far. So just one more change as we come out for the second period of extra time, and that's Roscoe Torres on the left in place of Leif Davis, who is... he's tired. Let's put it that way. Don't really fancy making any more changes. We do have a handful, or at least a couple more changes to make in the second period of extra time if we wish to. But to be honest, I don't think we do. I like the team that we have out there. Not just to try and get a winner here in extra time, but also if we do go to penalties, I think we have our best penalty takers out there already. Bit too much on the cross there from Ismail Assar. I think we have the best penalty takers left available anyway. I think Kamada would have been good to take a penalty, but Kamada wouldn't really have made it to this stage of the game. Same with Tammy Abraham. Obviously, we would have liked for him to be taking a penalty, but we needed to take him off. He just wasn't having an impact in the 90, and we were trying to win the game without going to penalties. One change I think should be made in real life, though, is I think the entire squad should be available in the case of a penalty shootout. So I think if you make substitutions, the players that you take off should be able to take a penalty in a penalty shootout scenario. I think you should have everybody on the pitch and on the bench available to take a penalty. As Pereira steals it away. Sarr in behind. Where has he got the ball there? Ismail Assar hurdles over the Norwich defender, and I don't think he got the ball. And he hasn't gone to ground there, Ismail Assar, but he has been hindered by the sliding challenge of the Norwich defender, which again, I don't think got the ball. So potentially a penalty in there. Nobody really appealed for one. Silence in the crowd. Silence from the referee's whistle. Cernach beats the Qua. Tries to make a recovery challenge. Cernach does get the shot away. Steen Henderson saves. We will find Adam Wharton. Cernach once more. It's a great challenge from Ndai Shimi. Wharton. Pereira. Van Eyck. Van Eyck drives. Oh, tries to lay it into the path of Roscoe Torres, but the Norwich defender gets a toe on it. But yeah, I think the entire team should be available to take a penalty if it goes to a shootout scenario. Because we've seen at times... I think players should be incentivized to try and win the game during the regulation 90 and in extra time. And I think allowing them to take good players off who they would want to take a penalty would do that. You know, you take somebody like say Manchester United, for example. They might be tempted to take Bruno Fernandes off in extra time because Stassin can't get the shot away in extra time just because he's simply so tired. But they would obviously want him to take a penalty, so they would probably leave him on, but they would have less of a chance of winning because you've just got an absolutely shattered Bruno Fernandes in centre midfield doing very little. So allow Manchester United to take him off, put somebody else on for the extra time period, and then if it goes to penalties, Bruno Fernandes can still take one. We've also seen times in the past where teams have waited till the very end of extra time to put players on in order to take a penalty, and they've just missed the penalty anyway. So I think that would make things simpler as well. Just let them sit on the bench, and if you want to put them in for a penalty shootout, put them in for a penalty shootout. But we will embark on penalties once again for the second game in a row. Nunez, Gibbs, Rowe, Cernach, Johnston and Forson for Norwich. No Tammy Abraham. No Daichi Kamada. But hopefully we can progress regardless. So Nunez versus Henderson. And he does go left again. We saw it in the Wolves game. The first three penalty takers for Wolves all went left. So we've gambled with Dean Henderson. And we've made the save. Because they do go the same way. And it's going to be Liam Gibbs who goes right this time. Chips it into the top corner. But Andreas Pereira buries his. It's up to Lucas Stassin now to maintain our advantage. And it's a good penalty, which beats Angus Gunn. 2-1. Johnny Rowe also goes right. Also buries it in the top corner. Ismail Assar now. And we'll go back to the same corner where Stassin just buried his. And we will beat Angus Gunn once more. Cernach puts it the other side. 3-3. But it's Ndayishimiye to take his penalty to put us back ahead. And it looks to be a good one. And it's beaten Angus Gunn again. A save here from Dean Henderson. Or a goal with, I believe, the captain Adam Wharton. Either would send us through. Johnston scores. But it's down to Adam Wharton. Wearing the armband. The 22-year-old, I want to say, potentially. With the baldest head I've ever seen. To send us through to the semi-finals. Can he do it? Yes, he can. We will progress. It was a little harder than I anticipated it being. But we've got it over the line regardless, away from home at Carrow Road. And we said it in the last episode. Oliver Glasner dressed for a funeral. But we'll have to take the suit off yet again. And we will be putting it on another day. Because we are still alive here in Season 3. Things are going to get a lot tougher in the next round. I anticipate Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool or Manchester City will be our opponents in the semi-finals. But it could be Brighton. It could even be Leeds. We will have to see. We don't tend to have a lot of love for our neighbours down the M23, but Brighton did dispatch Liverpool in the quarterfinals, beating them 3-2 on penalties, and Leeds did beat Manchester City. So it is going to be Arsenal versus Leeds, and it's going to be an M23 derby once again. So it looked for all the world as if our season was over. Just 2 episodes ago, I saw absolutely no way back. But we've clawed our way back from the dead. And we could legitimately book a place in the final of the FA Cup. And there's even a remote possibility that it could be against Leeds United. We do also have one final Premier League game to round out the episode against Nottingham Forest, where we are travelling to the City Ground and we come away with another victory. 100% in terms of results in today's episode, as Zaha gets on the score sheet, as does Adam Wharton, and that makes it 4 wins in 4. What a run of form we are on. We started the season incredibly well. We went through one of the worst patches of form we have ever gone through, but it looks like we're coming out the other side in one of the best patches of form. So that sets up another 3 Premier League games in the next episode. Chelsea, Tottenham and Leicester. Tougher slate of games than in today's, and it sets up that big semi-final fixture at Wembley against Brighton in the FA Cup. So I've got no idea how, but we just keep plugging away here. Oliver Glasner does not want to leave Selhurst Park. This series just does not want to die. So we will look to keep it alive once more in the next episode. I hope to see you there. Take it easy.